Hello?
And mute your mic. Can you hear us now?
Yes, you can hear us.
We can see your thumbs up. Excellent.
The question is, Alice, we can't hear you. I blame Google Hangouts pretty much, Alice.
I hear
And your speaker's unmuted there, right, Gordon?
Okay, wait, I think that might have just fixed it. It's just a test sound.
Hey, Alice, can you try talking one more time?
I'm turning my speakers on locally here too. I can hear it.
Huh. Can other people hear Alice? No. Ah. We know where the problem lies, Alice.
But we have not heard anyone for a while.
That is true.
Someone else could try some audio.
Yeah, maybe Chad or Katie. Do you guys want to try talking?
Hi, it's Katie. Can you guys hear me?
Hey, Katie.
Crystal clear.
Awesome. I could hear Alice when she joined the group the second time, but then once she put her microphone on mute, then I couldn't hear her anymore, and now I still can't hear her. But the first time
I heard something.
The first time she joined the group, I couldn't hear her, and then the second time she joined, I could hear her, and then once she put it on mute and tried to undo it, it was gone again.
Okay. I'm happy to take over, I suppose. Okay, give me just a moment here, and I'll share my screen, my entire screen, I guess. Let's try that. Whew. So, Gordon, can you see?
Cannot.
Give it just a moment. Well, my name is Mike Tholfsen, and I work on the education team, and I work on OneNote as well. And Alice invited myself, and I have my colleague here, Gordon, from the SWAY team, to come and talk about education technology in the classroom, some of the things that are happening on the Microsoft side, and some of the products and scenarios that we work on. But in particular, we've been working a ton with schools and teachers and students, and we've been bringing that feedback into the products, and we've been seeing a lot of interesting things out there in the education world. And other than that, since I can't hear Alice, I'm just going to assume we're going to
Mike's going to dive in
show some things.
OneNote.
I'd love to get questions along the way. And after I go, then Gordon's going to talk about Sway, which is a newer product that many people might not have heard of that is really interesting for students and teachers as well. And so with that, I'm kind of curious, before I get started, maybe Gordon, you can take the little visual poll since I can't see. How many people know what OneNote is? Who here has heard of OneNote, the digital binder? It's a part of Microsoft Office.
Alice is raising her hand.
Alice has.
I've got some no's.
Oh, good. That's good when there are people who haven't heard of it.
There's a mix.
So OneNote is really a digital binder, or if you have gray hair like me, you know what a trapper keeper is. Old school binder, but for the digital world. And the idea is that you can put anything inside of OneNote. And so I can put text, pictures, audio, video, I can put ink, I can embed any file and then I can organize it just like a binder, so you can see some of these colored tabs. So it resonates really well, not just with students, but with teachers, because a lot of teachers have binders. And the way that OneNote works is you have that flexible digital paper, and then you have this organizational model, and I'll show this in a little bit, where I can organize things any way I want. And on top of that, I can collaborate. So OneNote is completely collaborative. I can collaborate with students together, teachers together, student to teacher to teacher, principal to staff. There's all types of collaboration with OneNote. And then for those of you who don't know, and I work at Microsoft, and I know we have this reputation, you might think Microsoft is just Windows, Windows, Windows all the time. And it turns out that not only with OneNote, but Sway too, we're on all platforms. And so what's kind of nice with OneNote, you have that digital binder where you're keeping information. I can access it in a browser, on my iPhone, Android, on a Mac, PC, tablet, and all these are free. So OneNote is free on all devices, and you can access this stuff anywhere. So a lot of times in education, sort of the three pillars, if you're teachers or you're teachers to be, these are the things that we like to talk about. So OneNote helps save time in the education space, helps you stay organized, and helps you collaborate. And those are three things we know that are really critical for teachers, obviously students as well, but I'm going to be focusing a little more on teachers today. And there's a lot of products out there that do one of these things or two of these things, but it's rare that you can find something where all these things are together. And this is where we're finding the teachers are so excited, is that it helps them save time literally every day, and it helps them and their students keep organized. And I'll show some of that in just a moment. This is just a little bit of a background so you understand what we're talking about. And then there's a newer concept that came out recently, which is called a class notebook. So you have your personal notebooks, but we have a new product that's designed specifically for teachers in classrooms that allows a teacher to set up an entire structure with OneNote where the whole class can collaborate inside of it. Teachers can give private feedback, public feedback, and it can really become this framework in unlocking new scenarios. And I'm one of these people. I work on the OneNote team, and I'm very lucky because I get to travel around the country and world, kind of like Alice. I met Alice at some of these conferences. But I get to see what people are doing with OneNote, and there's some really interesting things happening, whether it's pedagogical innovation with lesson plans, whether it's students collaborating on coding projects in middle school across the school and across different schools in the district. We have some things with OneNote helping with dyslexia. We've got places where teachers are putting content into OneNote. So OneNote is becoming a content delivery tool for digital textbooks. We have teachers in the lower right in Scotland who are having a little hackathon moving Scottish curriculum into OneNote, so OneNote can be a content delivery tool. So lots of interesting scenarios where people are going much beyond maybe a note-taking tool and starting to use OneNote as this all-purpose collaboration and curriculum tool. And with that, I think I'm going to actually go into and just show people what OneNote looks like. And so Gordon, just confirm that you can see my screen.
Looks good, Mike.
Okay. And I'll show a little bit of OneNote, and then I'll just break for some questions in just a second, just to make sure people might have questions. So first off, I just like to show, I've got OneNote open here. You can see the little colored tabs across the top, just like a binder. So this is a notebook I'm in. And I'm going to show you some real student work. So a lot of work I've captured here comes from real students. So the first page is, I love to show, because OneNote does support ink. You don't have to use digital ink, but OneNote supports it. You have math, and math is really hard to do with just a keyboard. And if you look at the research and you look at what's out there, some sort of input, pen, pencil, is required in most cases to do some form of deep math. And you can get a sense of those types of things. Now I'm just going to show some different pages. This is just some typing and text. You can mix ink together. You can print things into OneNote. So you have examples of, here's a map. I can zoom in. I can zoom out. So it feels kind of like paper. We even have, you can set graph paper as a background. So here's an example of a physics assignment that someone did. And you can see here where I'm zooming around the page. I can zoom way in. I can zoom way out. And I've got a mix of things on that page. I've got all types of different content. I got pictures. I have typing. I have inking. And so you start to get a sense of, it feels like a real kid notebook or a teacher notebook. In this case, I have lesson plans. So again, to show that flexibility, this is a great lesson I love. A teacher put this together. It was a jazz lesson. And you can see they've embedded a PowerPoint on the page. They've embedded a Word document. They've got an audio file, which if we were wired up, I'd launch the audio file. You can just record audio right into OneNote. You can put video into OneNote. And teachers are starting to build their own digital textbook. So here's an example of a teacher that was building a social studies textbook. And they've got good debate strategies. And because you can print anything into OneNote very easily, you can see they've printed the presidential ballot into OneNote. And so the scenario was a teacher was trying to explain to the middle school class how voting worked. And a lot of kids have this idea that, oh, voting is just something that I go check a box, yes, no. And the teacher wanted to actually show, no, you actually have to understand and read the ballot. And what's nice is with OneNote, you can see I can very easily highlight, I can draw on the page. So it starts to feel like a nice way to merge the analog and the digital world. We have teachers who are doing foreign language lessons in OneNote Interactive Mandarin. And just that flexibility starts to come through. So that's the core of OneNote. Again, that's the page surface in the organization. I'll talk about the collaboration later, but at that point I just want to stop and get any questions that people have just conceptually about OneNote and just ideas about what you're interested in learning more about. And maybe Gordon, if you want to.
Yeah, feel free to verbally ask, or you can type it in the group chat.
Huh.
I don't see anything right now, Mike, but if something pops in, I will let you know.
Okay. Well, the thing I want to show next is actually something called a class notebook. And this is designed, I work on this product, and it's designed specifically for teachers. And so we talked to a lot of teachers out there, and they said, you know, Mike, great, OneNote seems kind of cool, but I'd like to be able to set this thing up really easily for a classroom environment. And how can I set up a structure in which I can work with OneNote with my students, we can collaborate together?
And Alice is asking, how does collaboration work? So this is a perfect segue to the class notebook.
And OneNote can be collaborative without a class notebook, but a class notebook is designed for teachers in particular. And this is a new concept. We came out with it about 1.5 years ago. And it's part of Office 365, so it's free. Office 365 is free, OneNote is free, and the class notebook is free. So if you've seen Office 365, I'm in it now. I go and I launch this class notebook here. And it pulls up an app that looks like this. And I call this the easy button for the teacher. So the teacher is going to come in, and I've got a class, and I'm going to create a class notebook. So here we go. I'm going to create the, we'll call it the Keeler class. Oops, spell that right. Or Keeler Math, because we know Alice likes math. The Keeler Math notebook. Hit next. And this tells me what it's going to create. There's going to be 3 parts in this notebook. There's going to be a collaboration area where all the kids can co-author in real time and work together in small group projects. And there's another section called the content library. And that's where a teacher can put in materials, so I can put in lecture notes or handouts or maybe even quizzes or curriculum. And kids can't change it, so it's read-only for all the kids. But the teacher puts things in there. So the kid, imagine that when I was in 3rd grade, my teacher had a big cabinet, and they'd put each assignment, and I would take a page from that and put it in my little binder. So the content library is kind of like the file cabinet where the teacher has all the materials and the kids can view it, but they can't change it. And then the last part is every single kid in the class gets a private notebook. And this is a really powerful part. It's a private notebook that only the teacher can have access to and collaborate with. So if you imagine the teacher is the hub and the students are all spokes, that's kind of how it works. So if I had a class notebook and all of you were in it, I could interact privately with each of you and give you feedback privately, real-time feedback. I could give you audio feedback, ink feedback, text feedback.
So Mike, Katie has a question here.
Yeah.
I'm used to Google Docs/Drive, so how does the collaboration work compared to Google? So maybe you could talk about that as we get into an actual class notebook.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I would say it's similar. It isn't quite as real-time as Google. I would say there's probably a few second delay typically. We're working on actually speeding that up, but it's sort of similar. And I'll actually show you in a moment what it actually looks like in a class notebook. There are some advantages to a class notebook compared to Google Docs, in my opinion. And Google is a little bit faster in real time, to sort of be on both sides. The other nice thing is all of OneNote goes offline. So OneNote, you can take it on a subway. It all works offline because we cache everything. If the kids don't have internet at home, they can take all that work home in OneNote and be offline on their phone, on their iPad, if they're Android tablet, wherever. In this class notebook, I can give permissions to another teacher. So if I had a co-teacher or a team teacher, a paraeducator, I could do that. Then I can put in my student names or groups. So in this case, I'm just going to type Pineview Public, or Pineview Students, I think is the name. This is a group of all my students. I could paste in my class list as well, either way. So Pineview Students, pretend that's Mrs. Keeler's class. Now the last part is what goes inside each student's private space. So this is where I template out, every kid in the class gets their little binder. In this case, I have handouts, class notes, homework, and quizzes is my suggestion. I'm going to uncheck quizzes because I'm going to customize this, and I'm going to have labs, or maybe I want to have essays or some other thing. I get to customize that. And then I hit next. I'm pretty much done at that point. So the teacher view, Keeler Math, Alice gets to see everybody in the classroom. I'm the hub. I get to see the collaboration space, which is kind of open collaboration for all the kids in the class. I get to see the content library and all the kids. If I was just a student, I would not get to see everybody. I would just get to see that collaboration space, content library, and my own stuff. So the student view is limited to just them. And then I hit create. And what's kind of nice is since this is in Office 365 and it's in the cloud, this creates a cloud notebook. But everybody in the class gets an email sent to them. So you would all get an email. And if you didn't even have email because you don't allow it in your school, even if you go to the shared with me, it's automatically there, so you don't have to have email. But if you did, everyone gets notified that you were added to the Keeler Math Notebook. And then I can go back and I can ultimately open that in a browser, on a Mac, and a PC. I can go back and open it on my phone. And then I'm done. So now I'm going to open up that notebook in OneNote and show what it looks like. So here I am in OneNote. I've got lots of notebooks. And you can see on the left-hand side, I've got a bunch of binders. But I'm going to open up my sample class notebook. And I've opened it all the way so you can sort of see the depth of which this tool creates. So that first part is the collaboration space. So this is kind of like the real-time co-authoring or near real-time, where everybody can work in one place. So I can do things like group project work, so kids can co-author on the same page here. Different group projects can be happening. Here's a mind map the different kids that we're working on, they put together. If I want to have a discussion where kids are starting to work on different parts of it, different kids can have their own pages that they're filling out. So that's the collaboration space. The difference in Google Docs, I like to say, is a Google Doc or a PDF or a Word file. It's not just a Google Doc, but you're opening and closing all the time. I'm opening a document, closing a document, opening a document, closing a document. With OneNote, everything is in one place. If I want to search for something, if I type in the word Bellevue, it searches across all my stuff, and I can instantly find stuff very quickly. And I don't have to open anything. If I want to go look at somebody's thing here, I just click on it, and I don't have to go open a doc and close a doc and look for it in my drive or wherever I'm storing it in my local file system. So that's kind of a nice thing. So if I have a content library, that's the second part. That's like that file cabinet in the back of the class. So the teacher might put things like, oh, here's the problem of the week. Here are all my lecture notes. So all the lecture notes are stored so the kids can always access them if they're sick or if they miss class or if they're offline. They can always have this stuff with them. We have a lot of kids who keep up while they're on vacation. And then all my handouts can go in here. I can put curriculum in here. I can put lessons in here. I can put whatever I want, but the kids can't change it is the key. It's a read-only place for them. They go in here and grab a copy of it, and then they put it into their private student notebook. So now, hopefully you guys are still with me. These are the 5 students, and this is where it's really powerful. So all my 5 students here as the teacher I have access to. Because if I want to click on student 1 and I want to see what they're doing, here I am. I can see exactly what they're doing. If I want to look at student 2, I can switch to them, and I can now start to give them real-time feedback. So if I want to go and give student 2 real-time feedback, I can go and just click and start typing real-time feedback, and they're the only ones that see this feedback. And if I want to tag it, I can do that. So OneNote has things like tags, so I can make a little tag here and say, hey, here's my real-time feedback that I just gave to you. And I can go click around and see what they're doing. I get a window into their brain in real time. And they can ask questions back. So let's say I teach a class and kids have this, and I say, does anybody have a question? And my friend Gordon here is an introvert. Gordon never raises his hand in class because he's embarrassed. But what Gordon does do is Gordon goes and he says, he types, I have a question, or I am confused, and he puts a little question tag here because OneNote has tags, and I can highlight things. Now, as a teacher, I might ask the class, okay, anyone have questions? Nobody raises their hand. But it turns out Gordon and some other people had some questions. So I can go into OneNote and find all these tags, and I can actually see all the questions that are getting asked right here. So I can say, hey, I had a question. I can click here. It'll jump me to the kid who had a question. I can jump to any tag, and I can teachers, what they're doing now is they can quickly get a sense of what's going on, whether it's during the class or outside the class. And we have teachers that now can, in real time, go and see what's happening in the group projects, and I can go and, here is my feedback to the group project and give that. Or I can go and give it privately. Here's my feedback. Or I can give it privately. And you also see this can become a natural e-portfolio structure. So schools are now using this for parent-teacher conferences and showing here's all the work that Johnny was doing. They're using it as a foreign languages. So kids are embedding practicing reading inside of their private notebooks because you can insert audio with one click in one, and I can just record audio. Teachers are giving audio feedback. You have multimodal types of feedback. Teachers give written feedback, they give type feedback, they give audio feedback. OneNote works on an iPad with ink, so teacher can sit in their easy chair at home and pull out the iPad and scribble ink, insert audio feedback, all syncs to the cloud. Kids get it privately, or they can give public feedback. So a lot of new scenarios are getting unlocked with this. And that's the thing that's been really interesting. I have some feedback here from schools we've been working with. This is one of my favorites. The most significant and organic change process ever in the school. We're seeing that kids like this so much, everything's organized in one place. They love the real-time feedback. They're demanding it from some of their other teachers, and so it's starting to spread across schools in many cases. Teachers are saying they have a window into the brains of their students. Student engagement and accountability has improved. Teachers can put up a class notebook of a student work anytime. So I want to show what Gordon's doing. If I'm projecting, I just click and I say, well, here's how Gordon solved the problem. And then I put up this, well, here's how Alice worked on problem of the week. And I can very quickly throw work up on the board and give feedback and show the class and share that. So student engagement and accountability is improved. And kids receiving synchronous feedback, the shorter, and I'm sure you guys know this, the quicker you can give that feedback, you can shorten that learning process and shorten the learning cycle. And we have principals saying that consistently that teachers giving this feedback mechanism are able to support best state practices, best practices, because there's a lot of new standards around feedback and the way that teachers are giving feedback with students and collaborating. So what we're seeing is there's a lot of impact with top education trends, whether it's personalized learning, teachers being able to give differentiated assignments in the content library. They can put assignments directly into those private notebooks. They can give personalized feedback. They can give real-time feedback. Also, because OneNote goes online and offline, and you can take it anywhere on any device, you have that anywhere, anytime, bring your own device aspect that can be really powerful with the class notebook. And inclusive classroom, I might have time at the very end to show some new learning tools that we have around dyslexia and being able to help out with all learners, English language learners, ADD, executive function. It turns out there's a lot of research coming out with OneNote and that organizational model and the ability to have things in one place really helps with a lot of special needs kids. And even in the autism range, we're seeing a lot of really interesting things happening. So I'm going to stop there just for a moment, open up for questions. I'll have a couple last things to close with, but I want to make sure I answer questions about how OneNote and class notebooks are being used, how teachers are using them, the types of feedback we're seeing, or anything else on your mind.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I work at the Services for Students with Disabilities office at school, and I was wondering how accessibility works. For example, if you have a blind student who needs to use programs such as JAWS to access this type of thing, if that's what they're using in this classroom, will they be able to access this fully?
For JAWS, I will say in general, yes, Office supports JAWS. OneNote with JAWS, I'm going to be honest, we're good, but we're not fantastic for blind students in particular. So I will say there are some other things, though, that are actually very interesting and different that have come out recently that go beyond blind students, but in terms of with English language learners, dyslexia, and emerging readers. I'm happy to show that if you're interested, but if you're interested in blind in particular, it does support JAWS, but JAWS is, I would say, decent, not fantastic with OneNote.
Mm-hmm.
Alice has a question. Can it read the handwriting?
Yes, and you can search on handwriting. So If I use search here, if I search for the word chapter, see I typed in chapter and it found chapter right there in the on the page. So yes, we search handwriting, we search images. So if you paste something into OneNote, we run OCR, and you can search images. So if I type the word Bellevue here, I can find, let's see if I can find, oh yeah, presidential ballot.
So Alice is clarifying her question. Will JAWS read the handwriting?
No.
Oh, will JAWS read the handwriting? Currently, no. That's something we're actually looking at, though, like being able to have a screen reader recognize and read out the handwriting.
And you can convert ink into text, right?
Yeah, so you can convert, I can select ink, as we call it, and you can change that into text if you'd like. In terms of, maybe I'll show the immersive reader. I'll show two more things. I'll answer questions, and I'll show maybe two more things, and then I'll turn that over to Gordon. But other questions people have first? I'll show the staff notebook, which is very similar to the class notebook. So a staff notebook is designed for principals, teachers, curriculum developers. It's designed for education staff to collaborate. And it looks just like the class notebook, and it's set up just like a class notebook. But instead of the collaboration space for students, you have staff meeting notes. And all because we have Outlook integration with OneNote, you can have all your staff meeting notes in a shared space. And you can do things like school initiatives and Spirit Week and fundraisers in a collaborative area where all school staff can collaborate. You can develop curriculum. So we have a lot of schools that are starting to co-author curriculum inside of a shared notebook in OneNote because all of staff can collaborate together. And so here's some examples, Helen Keller lesson plan that was co-authored in a staff notebook collaboratively, or Diary of a Wimpy Kid, or maybe a mind map. You can start to see these really intricate and creative pages that a lot of teachers are starting to co-author. And then in the content library, we have people who are putting policies and procedures, like email policies, extracurricular activities, field trips. And again, OneNote can go on your phone, so I can now have my staff in my pocket, and I can take this offline. So I can have all this. A lot of this stuff is in like mail and documents and websites and all in 50 places. What we're seeing is a lot of schools with these staff notebooks are going completely paperless and collaborative, and they can have everything in one place on any device. And the last part are the private staff member notebooks. So instead of a student-teacher relationship, maybe there's a principal staff member. So if I want to have here's Amanda and Claire and Dylan, these are all teachers working with the principal. All this professional development now can be in a private staff member notebook. So if I'm the principal, I can work with all my staff members and have all this professional development, or maybe I'm doing classroom observations. So here's a case where I take a picture of the class as a principal. I insert it into my classroom observations section for Amanda, so it's private to Amanda and me. I've given her some feedback written. I've got some audio feedback, so I did some formal observation. I've got audio feedback of actually her teaching the class. I printed a form and filled that out. Maybe I'm doing peer-to-peer observation, self-assessment, all these types of staff development and staff classroom observation. Schools are starting to capture in these staff notebooks, which are, again, they're part of Office 365. Parent communication. So I've got a wide set of all this stuff that is either spread out in lots of places or it's paper. Now, again, that's whole saving time, collaboration, and organization. These staff notebooks are helping schools go paperless on the administration part, so a lot less bureaucracy and a lot more efficiency. That's kind of the way to think about it. And again, that's part of Office 365. That's also something that's built right in. So if you're in Office 365, it's already pre-installed. So you go to View My Apps right here in Office 365, and there's a staff notebook app that is pre-installed for all education Office 365 tenants. So you got a staff notebook right there. And then the last thing I'll just show briefly is the learning tools, and then I'll do final questions and Gordon. So something that just came out about a week ago, and I was at the BET conference, and I was actually showed this to Alice there. Something came out, it's called Learning Tools. And what it is this was a special app that is a beta right now, so it's a customer preview. We just launched it to get feedback. But we had some of the top reading and font experts and accessibility experts build these tools. We built them right into OneNote. And what I'm going to show here is an immersive reader. So I'm going to launch it. And you can see here we have gone high contrast, and hopefully that comes through on the screen. We also what we can do is we have a screen reader built in. So first off, I'll jack the font up so people can see a little better, and I'll hit the screen reader. Oh, I'm muted, so you're not hearing it. Right now, what's happening, if I was unmuted, it's reading the text from the screen. So if you have dyslexia, we've got audio, we've got the word highlighted, we have the line highlighted. It helps with focusing, so anyone with ADD, ADHD. It also just helps anyone who's learning a new language, so English language learners. And if you have dyslexia, it's especially powerful. But we also built in things, again, we have research that's spacing. So line spacing, visual crowding is something that people with dyslexia oftentimes have, but also in general it helps you read better. So what we've done here is we have spacing mode where we increase the space of the lines and the fonts. I can use short line mode, which again helps with focusing as well as sustained attention and helps with dyslexia. And I can still turn on my screen reader right now if I wanted. We have dark themes, we have light themes, so that's easy to switch. The other thing we have are parts of speech. So using Microsoft research techniques, I can now break this into syllabification is what it's called. I click on syllables and you can see it just broke these words into syllables. So again, in early emergent readers and English language learners as well as people with dyslexia, breaking the words into syllables is a proven technique to help retain new words and to help improve comprehension of what you're reading. So you can see it's broken up mountains and valleys. We have parts of speech around verbs. So I click and now all the verbs are shown in red. If I want to highlight the nouns, I can highlight all the nouns in purple, or I can highlight adjectives. So these are all brand new techniques coming out of Microsoft that are really designed universally for all readers and learners, but they really help certain types, whether it's English language learners, dyslexia, or emergent readers. So that's a brand new tool that we're pretty excited about. It just came out about a week ago. We have some websites I can share. I'll put it in the chat window when I'm done. But it's called Learning Tools for OneNote. And we actually, I was pretty excited. I don't know if you saw the article, Alice, but we just had an article come out. I'm excited about it just because I work on the team that helped make this. So forgive me here, but I want to show there's a Forbes article that just came out on learning tools that is, they called it, uh-oh, my browser shut down. Oh, I chose Chrome, and let me try to rejoin. Is it a Chrome browser?
You got kicked out of the meeting?
Yeah.
All right, we just lost Mike briefly. Is there something I can pull up and share?
No, I'm good. I'm rejoining. I should be back in a second here. Let me rejoin. Guys, are you hearing me?
Yeah, the audio should still be fine.
Okay. Sorry about that. I launched a Chrome tab and it booted me right out of Chrome. But learning tools, can you see my screen again now?
Yeah.
This is a Forbes article from Jordan Shapiro, who probably Alice knows, I'm guessing. But he said, learning tools for Microsoft OneNote may be one of the most disruptive education technologies yet. And I won't read the article, obviously, I'll send a link to it. But what we believe is with learning tools, it is something that is universally applicable to everyone in education. But in particular, it will help certain types of folks that might be having learning differences or learning difficulties. But it's non-stigmatizing, and it's free, and it's built into tools that a lot of people know, which is we want to build this into Microsoft Office, we want to build it into Word, we want to build it into all browsers. So learning tools, again, that's something that just came out recently, but we're pretty excited about. And lastly, for PD, because I'm sure a lot of you said, wow, Mike showed me a lot of stuff. I can't remember all that stuff. How on earth could I learn more about this? We have a site called OneNoteForTeachers.com, which is free interactive PD, which walks through, for a teacher, a bunch of these scenarios, starting from the basics. These are like 5 to 7 minute interactive, bite-sized, getting the most out of OneNote, staying organized with OneNote, delivering curriculum, all the way up to class notebooks and everything and beyond. So this is a site that I'll send some follow-up links if people are curious. But these were all help. We worked with teachers to design this training, and it's all completely focused on teachers, school administrators, or students. So it is targeted for education, and it's not generic training that sometimes Microsoft has put out in the past. So with that, final questions, and I'll turn it over to Gordon at the same time. And maybe as he's getting set up, if you want to share, Gordon,
sure.
I'll entertain any other questions and put some links into the chat window. Other questions? No other questions? This is the case kind of like where you want to put the question mark as a tag, and I'll follow up privately. I can do that too. I know there's different learners and different styles and introverts and extroverts. So if you are an introvert, I'm happy to answer that question offline.
Your camera's on. Here we go. Aaron has a question. Mac versus PC. Is it easy to switch for OneNote Office stuff?
Yeah. So if you're using a Mac, OneNote is free. So you can go to the Mac store and download OneNote for free. And again, Office 365 is free for almost all education. So you can literally get Office 365 for free, and then you can go and download Mac OneNote for free, and you can play around with it. So there's, you can try this stuff, no cost, so to speak. A lot of it is we find that teachers start out with just saving time themselves and organizing themselves. Even if you're not one-to-one, it doesn't mean that every student needs to have OneNote. A lot of times just teachers using OneNote and just staying organized and collaborating more effectively and saving time on your own is a huge win. Alice, the OneNote I saw on Mac needed improvement. Did they fix it? Well, I don't know when you saw it last, but we're actually updating our Mac OneNote almost every month, so it's improving way faster than the PC. So like more recently, we've added audio recording to Mac. We've added more functionality around some of the different options around formatting and coloring. So we're actually improving Mac quite rapidly. And so you can hook up a Mac to a class notebook very easily. We've got a lot of teachers who love Mac OneNote. And we're going to be adding embedding video to Mac OneNote probably in about a month. So yeah, it's getting better rapidly. Because we know that the most common tools teachers use are PCs and Macs in the classroom as a teacher, typically. Any questions? I'll turn to Gordon.
Okay. Let me know that you can see my screen okay, Mike.
Yeah.
So my name's Gordon Hardy. I'm a program manager on the SWAY team, OneNote's younger sibling. And I'm going to walk you through kind of what SWAY is. SWAY is and we have some SWAYs that I can show you, and if we have time, we can even work on creating one. So SWAY is a brand new app that's part of the Office suite that allows you to create beautiful multimedia-rich documents of all types that look great on any screen size. All you need is a browser, any browser, to view a SWAY. And SWAY takes care of making it look beautiful. You don't have to be a professional designer to have results you're proud of with SWAY. So I have a SWAY here that I'll use to talk about SWAY. So as I mentioned, SWAY is a new part of the Office suite. It joins all the apps that you are familiar with, like PowerPoint, OneNote, Word, Excel. This neat little stack of images here I'm just tapping on with my finger. I'm a touchscreen device right now, but that's certainly not required for SWAY. So what is it really? We think of it as a new digital storytelling app that's part of the Office suite in the broad sense of story that allows you to create and share interactive documents, whether that's class materials, a presentation, a project. I've got some great examples that I'll show you. It supports a wide variety of different multimedia from all around the digital world. As I mentioned, it has a built-in design engine, and it also has content sources built in so you can pull from all around the web and your personal content right from within SWAY. And we do see SWAY as the primary document and presentation tool for the modern classroom. Of course, there are other document and presentation tools out there today. Word and PowerPoint in particular are a couple of very large ones. SWAY is not a replacement for those. It is a complementary tool that really dives into what we believe modern authoring looks like, and I'll show you that as we go through here. So what does SWAY actually make? Well, here I am, as I mentioned, I'm in a browser, and this is a dynamic interactive canvas of lots of digital artifacts. Hopefully this is coming through okay in this as it's being projected here. SWAY allows you to do things like, here's a nice little slideshow of images with thumbnails. Right below that, there's two images that we're comparing, a drawing and then the real version of the tentacle. This is a little embed here from Sketchfab that produces little 3D embeds. And this functionality that I'm using right now is coming from Sketchfab. I'm able to just touch that and spin it around. This is the space shuttle. We're able to see all the different sides. Of course, we support embedding videos, embedding maps, lots of different types of videos. Here's a tweet that's embedded. It's the actual tweet. It's not a picture of the tweet. I can interact with it. I'll click on follow, and I am actually interacting, and here Twitter comes up, and I can see David Alexander, the author of this tweet. Some interactive charts. I can select the different series and see the chart react in real time. And of course, Sway supports embedding various types of Office content. These are the actual Office documents that are embedded. So here on the left, I have a Word document, and I can scroll through, and this is the full, rich Word document. This is actually the Word web application I'm using to view the document. Down in the lower right, this is a PowerPoint deck. All the animations and timings and everything that I've got as part of that deck are preserved, and I can view it right within the Sway. Sway also supports ingesting Word, PowerPoint, and PDF documents right into Sway to make it native Sway content. But as I'm showing here, you can embed it as well. Here's an interactive graph that's part of Excel. I can click on the different elements and see the series get updated in real time. So how does Sway make it? As I mentioned, it has a built-in design engine that will make the content look great across many different designs. This little animated GIF shows the same content. It's kind of scrolling by quickly here, but the same content with some very different designs put on it. We can explore that a little more as we create our Sway in a little bit. The layout of a Sway is adaptive. It looks great on any screen size. That's the modern world we live in, where some screens fit in our pocket and some take up our whole wall, and Sway will adjust to look great on any of those. Okay, when we look at how Sway is being used in the classroom, first, it's exciting to see how both students and teachers who have experienced Sway are really excited about it and have really grown to love the product. We see students using Sway to do things like collaborating on group projects. Often that leads to a presentation in class. That might be a part of a research project that they're doing. And Sway, an interesting use case for Sway that we've seen is really building digital portfolios of work that has happened over time, whether that's in a particular subject like art, or we've seen portfolios of here's my year's work that's being used to supplement applications for post-secondary education. I've got a great example. Actually, I got a couple student examples that I will show you right now. I'm going to jump. I have them open in the browser already. I'm going to jump over to Erin's art portfolio. Erin is a student just south of Seattle, and she created this art portfolio. So I'm going to scroll through that. You see some great, beautiful images with the text overlaid over top of it. Okay, similar to the other Sway I was using, this one goes horizontally, which is non-traditional for a browser. Most web pages go vertically, and Sway supports horizontal and vertical, as well as a presentation mode that's optimized around groups of things on the screen at once. So we'll see here, she's documenting her art projects for the year. She has a nice little stack of images showing different paintings by Georgia O'Keeffe. She uses the comparison to compare the artist's original work and her rendition of it. You know, as I continue to scroll through here, I'm not sure if this particular part is coming over well over the meeting, but the different panels with pictures and text, they just subtly kind of slide in over top of or come from underneath. Sway will just automatically apply nice little animations such as this to just give you that beautiful, satisfying experience right from the get-go. You don't have to mess with, I want this to fly in for 0.8 seconds and futz with fine-tuning that. Sway will do that for you. Okay, let's jump to another example. These are 3 second graders. This is one of my favorite Sways that we've seen. These 3 second graders did a Sway on cows. Jacob and Anton are located in Milton, Ontario, and Roberto is in Edmonton, Alberta. And their teachers connected them using Skype, and they co-authored this Sway over the course of a week, over a few sessions. And you'll see here that they have a nice formed introduction. The theme that they chose is very second grade. We're able to get some nice pictures of cows in here. Their second gradeness really shines through here. Cows are only females. They can be black and white or brown, but the brown cows don't give us chocolate milk. Lots of cuteness shining through here. See, there's another little subtle animation. That cow picture just flew in. They have an embedded video coming down here. They've got captions on their images. This is a result that second graders are proud of. With traditional authoring tools, it's hard to think that second graders, or we've seen as young as kindergartners, being as successful creating a result that they're as proud of.
Yeah, to add to that, I was in a school in London last week in the UK, and there were kindergartners and first graders. The entire school was creating sways, and I actually never seen that. It's like, whoa, whole school swaying out.
Yeah, it's exciting when we're brand new, so a lot of schools are just hearing about us, but the ones that have really taken a liking to sway. Okay, not only is sway great for students, just jump back here to my original sway, but we also see teachers using sway for a number of different purposes. Interactive class materials is kind of a big one. It makes some lecture notes, it spices them up in a nice, pleasurable way to consume them. This can enhance project-based learning. We see lots of projects being documented using sway. Parent communication is another big one. As a parent myself, I get a barrage of, I'll say, boring text-heavy emails that it's got information I need to consume. But we've seen schools where teachers start to send sway links out to parents to communicate what's going on in the classroom. The parents are like, this is a much nicer way to consume all of that information. Teachers are using it to create memory books for events and trips. One teacher, I love this use of it. She created a sway at the start of a 5-day outdoor field trip and said, parents, if you want to know what's going on with your students, check into this sway. And while she was on the trip, each day she updated the sway with some images and some text from her mobile device on just what's going on, and the parents were able to dial in and see that sway each day, and it looks like a nice, beautiful presentation she put together, but she's just doing it on the fly. And especially now with a lot of eager teachers getting on board who are especially good at sharing best practices, we see sway as a way that they're sharing best practices with lots of different things. Here's how I use OneNote in my classroom. Here's how I use Skype in my classroom. Here's how I'm doing project-based learning in my classroom. Okay, with that, let's jump to a couple of specific teacher examples. Here is an example of a sway about quadratic functions. A teacher in Australia put this one together. He chose the vertical navigation. You can see he's got just a textured background here. So heavy use of animated GIFs to show the relationship between the graph and the function. And this is a lesson that can be either taught in class using this way, or that students can pre-read themselves, a la flipped classrooms. You'll see here that the problems are in a variety of different formats. This one is actually a picture of a piece of paper, and that's where this teacher had that question, and it was easy to snap a picture of that and easily get it into sway. We see some snapshots of some ink here as well. And if there are any questions, let me know along the way. Mike will let me know if there's any questions.
Is sway on mobile? Is there sway apps on mobile?
So good question. So we have the sway apps that we have right now we have an iOS app and an iPad app. And if you're on a browser of size, like tablet or larger, you can use sway.com to create sways. And I'll add that we started with the web application. Sway.com is the 100% fully feature-rich application. Is Sway accessible?
Mm-hmm.
A short answer is yes. Yes, we're accessible. We have an accessibility view that, actually I can show you that. Why don't I scroll down to a part where accessibility view becomes more apparent. A lot of the like animations in a stack of images, we adjust when you go into accessibility view. Actually, just before I show you that, here is an example of some functionality that's embedded from a site called GeoGebra. I can interact with this. I can choose to show the graph. I can even play an animation here. That functionality is coming from GeoGebra. That's not built into Sway. The Sway allows you to embed that experience right within the Sway. Okay, I mentioned accessibility view. Yeah.
When will Windows Mobile 10 get this way?
Yeah, so Windows Mobile 10, like the phone.
I think so. I'm assuming that's
Windows
what
Phone.
Daisy meant.
We have it's on our backlog. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be released. It'll be likely many months from now. But we do have plans to build Sway apps for all of the mobile platforms. We do have a Windows 10 app that you can get from the Windows 10 store for a laptop or tablet-sized device, but we don't have a Windows Phone version yet. You'll see the link here for accessibility view when I'm viewing a Sway, and I will select that, and that gives me a flatter, less animated, easier to consume. You'll see here we take away the background texture. The animated GIFs still play. Less distractions in the same Sway. So any Sway you can adjust in a similar manner.
Another question, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Angelica's asking, is Sway interactive like OneNote? Collaborative? You mean collaborative? You mean interactive? Angelica, maybe you can.
Yeah. Okay. So my question was more like, can we get students like more involved in like participating while we're using Sway? Does that make more sense?
Well, let's see. So right now we're viewing Sways that have been created and we're consuming them. There's the creation of the Sways that is absolutely an interactive exercise.
You should show that.
Yeah, so why don't we jump to creating a Sway?
That's what I've seen kindergartners through
editing
do
a
that
Sway.
Yeah.
So here's a Sway on endangered species. I'll just quickly flip through. Here's what we have so far. We're going to jump in and make some edits on this Sway. And so you can imagine this being I'm just going to click edit here. You can imagine this being a group project. We see kids all the time collaborating together on a group project such as this, whether it's physically sitting around the same PC or co-authoring. Sway supports co-authoring, so we can both be making edits on the Sway at the same time. So here is the editing experience that is very interactive. In the middle, you'll see the storyline. This is the structure of the Sway. What comes first? What's the title? Here's some text. Here's another section. That's not what the Sway actually looks like. That we can see over here in the preview. Now, the feedback we get from teachers is they like this separation because as kids are working in the storyline, they're focused on the actual story and what comes first and what comes next, and they're not getting distracted by trying to futz with the final output. That Sway makes easy for you anyway. So, as I mentioned, we can insert from a variety of different sources around the web. I'm just going to click on Insert. You'll see you can pull from your OneDrive, from various different image sources here. You can upload your own videos. We're working to get OneNote, so you can pull OneNote content directly from here. You'll also see we have suggested content. And so we'll look at your Sway and what you have in your Sway and make some suggestions. And so I can dig into any of these suggestions and just see additional resources from around the web to pull directly into Sway. Thinking. Okay, so we found some images through Bing image search. There's a Wikipedia summary here on the Hawaiian monk seal. There's some videos. And you'll see here that we only show, by default content with the Creative Commons license. And things, if I were to bring this Wikipedia summary into so I can just easily click and drag that in. We properly cite that is from Wikipedia. Okay, question?
Can you create a Sway offline?
Currently, you cannot create a Sway offline. The offline Sway right now is almost entirely an online experience. We do have offline viewing of Sways using the Windows 10 app, where if you played it on that device in that app, then you'll be able to view it offline. But offline is something we are we are working on as we realize that connectivity is not always a constant. Okay, let's go ahead and make a few changes here. I'm going to zip down here to a place where we have a number of different pictures. Here is the seal. I'm just going to jump to show you what that looks like right now. Hawaiian monk seal. We have a number of images here. Sway allows us to easily do different things with these images. So I'm going to go back to my storyline here and select. These are already marked as part of a group. Sway gives us a number of different options about how to treat that group. I can choose a stack, similar to the stacks that we saw. I can choose grid to give it a nice tight layout, or I can choose slideshow. Let's go ahead and pick slideshow, and we can dig into additional options with that slideshow and say, yeah, I want to show those thumbnail images. And so with just a few clicks, we'll go back here and see what the preview looks like. Here is our slideshow of those same images. We might say, you know, I want that slideshow to be a little more dominant. So I can pick options on that, and you'll see here it's set to subtle. I'm going to go ahead and pick moderate. We call that emphasis, and so I have emphasized that slideshow. You'll notice I did not say make it 400 pixels by 600 pixels. That's far too specific, and this is one example of many that you'll find within Sway that is really around expressing your intent to Sway, which is give this more emphasis, because that may mean something a little different on a mobile device compared to a large screen, where pixels are a very fixed size, and that's much harder to translate across device. Just looking at the clock here, I'm going to show one other example of a feature that we have in Sway. So here is a header on the leopard, and I have a header image, and Sway takes liberties to crop images to make it fit nicely with the design. Now, we have done work to do like salient region detection and face detection so that we don't crop out faces, but we haven't yet done work to recognize leopard faces. Know that there are two leopards in this picture, so I'm going to go ahead and pick it and click on focus points. And what that allows me to do is say, these particular parts of the image are important. Sway, make sure those are included however you crop it. And then when we jump back here to our Sway, we see that Sway now includes those regions as part of the picture. Lastly, I talked about Sway having a built-in design engine. We can choose to dig into particular elements of the design. I can select design and change the texture background. Let's just try a few different ones here. I can pick this theme. Sway has curated a number of different designs that have a combination of animations, backgrounds, layouts. You see this image is slightly askew. That's part of this layout. The headers are a little different. The decorations on the headers are a little different. I can dig in and change some of those elements. If I say, hey, I actually want to, oops, going to click on design. I can customize the colors further and say, you know, I like this particular picture, and Sway will dig in and give me color palettes that match that picture, so I can choose that as a way to further fine-tune my design. Okay, very last thing I'll show you. The students love this one. We have a remix button here that's just asking to be clicked on. What remix will do is give you a completely different design that you can choose to take or leave. So I'm just going to hit remix on my Sway, and we'll see what we get. Aha, so this time Sway gave us the horizontal navigation. It lays things out nicely. It wraps around the pictures. You can see the headers, the images are cropped a little different. In just one click, I can change dramatically how my Sway looks. Let's click it again and see what we get.
Oh,
Okay.
someone asked about adding sounds too, which I know you get asked about.
Yes. So here we have another completely different design. This is the sort of one thing at a time, optimized for presentation mode of Sway as I click through each group. there's a question about sound or about audio. So right now we support adding sound clips from SoundCloud, and we are actively developing right now richer audio support. A consistent piece of feedback that we hear from the students is they want to narrate their sways. They have a section on giant pandas. They want to talk about pandas and have that play while the panda section is being viewed. Or they want to have background music as part of their sway. And we know these are very compelling scenarios. I think it fits really nicely with sway to add the audio dimension in a richer way inside sway. So that is something we're working on and pretty excited about. Especially when I see like the younger kids, the keyboarding skills aren't there as expected. When they're having to type long bits of text, it's hard for them. Narration makes it even easier for them to express their ideas. Okay, so that's a quick flyby of sway.